welcome
to Family Home Evening.
FHEBadMormons.
I'm Mandy.
I'm Charlotte.
And we are two sisters who were baptized Mormon.
And failed to stick with it.
And then we started drinking, and we're still drinking to this day.
And then we'd like to tell you what we think about politics, drugs, and stupid shit we did on drugs. You're welcome.
That's the podcast you've chosen to listen to. Oh, wait, you're still here? Okay, let's get into it.
I'd like to welcome every listener, but especially our patrons. You guys are great.
You're so great. I hope you know how great you are.
You make me smile every freaking day.
And, you know, when you signed up to be patrons, you may not have realized that you actually were signing up for a new religion, which we just created on our last podcast.
No one's complained about it yet, so I'm guessing everybody's cool with it.
Your silence is a contractual vow.
Obligation?
Obligation. Sorry if that wasn't clear when you first signed up.
Listen, nothing changes. Your monthly contribution is just now rephrased as your tithing. It is now a tax write-off. You're welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
We don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to pay taxes. Am I right?
100% quality here.
1,000%. Ah, shit.
For those who
oh, shit.
have been keeping track, we do have a drinking game. Anytime we say a percentage, you have to drink. Every time we say exactly, you have to drink. We actually wrote these down the other day.
I had some really good notes during the last one, and I was going to make a whole infographic. That's one of the many things I promised to do that I didn't do, which also includes writing a chapter of our Harlequin romance novels.
You didn't get even a paragraph down.
I was busy at work selling natural and organic groceries to the townsfolk. Okay? I have things to do. Also, I was very tired. And I was drinking a lot.
Just don't make promises you can't.
I know. Okay, this time, you guys. This time, I promise. One chapter of the novel.
And we're going to get our drinking rules down.
The drinking rules will be infographic and simple. If you want to drink along just for this episode, let's just say this. Anytime we say a percentage, anytime we say exactly.
Anytime I say you're welcome.
Basically. That's good enough for now.
Yeah, that's good for now.
That's good enough.
I mean, there's more, but...
You'll get very drunk. You can make up your own rules as far as, do I take a shot? Do I take a drink? Do I finish my beer? Do I slam a glass of champagne?
It's entirely up to you, and we don't judge you.
Yeah, we're not here to judge you.
You make your own life choices.
I just slammed a glass of champagne right now.
It was awesome to watch.
Anyways, thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for listening, patrons. We do love you so much.
I'm going to start off Repentance Corner, which is not what it's called, but I'm going to repent. We were at brunch today where we did drink a lot of mimosas.
This is going to go really well.
And it was brought to everyone's attention that I've never seen the movie Slither, which I apologize for, and I will rectify after we finish recording.
I was like, dude... Slither starring Nathan Fillion? You've never seen that?
I had no idea. You know how much I love Nathan Fillion.
I know. So we're going to have to cut this podcast short because Charlotte's got to go watch Slither.
Remember that episode where I cut everything so I could go watch Cobra Kai? It's happening again.
Well, so here's how it came about. We were sitting at brunch. We're talking about what we're going to talk about on the podcast. And we're like, oh, we should definitely talk about Book of Boba Fett because some shit went down. Right. And then Charlotte's like, oh, James Gunn. And then I was like, oh, of horror movie fame. And Charlotte said Slither. And now you're all caught up.
And then I was like, and by the way, I've never actually seen Slither. I just know that he did it. And I know that it's of ill repute.
Repute? No, it's fucking great. Slither? Are you kidding me?
People did not like that movie.
Well, for good reason, but it's fantastic for those same reasons. You kidding me? Come on.
Yes.
Oh, and here's a fun fact that Charlotte told me at brunch today. I had no idea that James Gunn got his start in trauma films.
Yes, that's true. I did not... I mean, it wasn't surprising to me when I knew that he wrote
Tromeo and Juliet. I was like kind of doing my own thing, doing my research for what we're going to talk about, and she said Tromeo and Juliet, and my ears perked up. I was like, what? I'm a huge fan. Courtney and I, you know, if you listen to this show, you know Courtney, our executive genius creative director. Courtney and I spent a lot of years, 20 years probably, drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon and watching trauma films exclusively. so when I heard that, I was like, what?
Good.
Anyway, yeah, James Gunn. Who fucking knew?
I fucking knew. Well, I mean, I only knew because then I watched Guardians of the Galaxy and I was like, I like this fellow. He makes good movies. And then I went back and I was like, oh, he's made lots of good movies.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I just realized? I think I was confusing him with James Wan.
What did James Wan do?
James Wan did a lot of horror movies. The Conjuring, Insidious.
Oh.
He's also Australian, so you know that I immediately want to have all the sex with him.
Well, we will get back to James Gunn later. We have to head on over to Mormon Corner, but when we come back for cool shit, I will tell you all the things that I have the feelings on with James Gunn.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Actually, let me preface this before I just jump right into it. A listener of ours, a dear #1 top fan, gave us this book. She sent it to us in the mail. It's called The Miracle of Forgiveness. It's written by Spencer W. Kimball.
It's given me many a nightmare.
And it was written in the year, I can't find it, but I'm going to say 1976.
I was going 74?
Oh, 69.
Oh, we're both
1969. Anyway, as we're sitting at brunch, drinking champagne, eating lobster,
like the common people do,
in Dana Point Harbor, you know,
watch the yachts go by.
we pulled out the book Miracle of Forgiveness to, you know, just do a little light brunch reading, and I was like, ooh, this will be a good one to read to the podcast. Chapter 5, The Sin Next to Murder.
Interesting. Sounds intense.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it? What could possibly be worse or almost as bad as murder? Well, Mormon Jesus is here to tell you. I'm like, why can't I read? I'm wearing sunglasses instead of my regular glasses.
Apparently, once you turn 40, you can no longer see.
You go fuck yourself, Charlotte. Okay. There are sins which are so serious that we know of no forgiveness for them. You laugh it up now.
You blind as shit, girl.
These sins we will discuss in greater detail in a later chapter. Oh, we've already read those ones.
Oh, right.
Masturbation and...
It's a crime against humanity, Mandy.
Homosexuality.
Only because he misses his friend Steve.
It's Adam and Steve, not Adam and... Wait, what?
Strike that, reverse it.
Okay, but let's get serious now. Okay. There are also sins which approach the unforgivable ones in seriousness, but seem to come to the category of the forgivable. It seems murky to me.
Yeah, I'm confused already.
Yeah, they're forgivable, but they're not forgivable.
It depends on what I'm deciding at that moment in time.
It depends on what year it is and what the what the political climate is. Okay. These are the diabolical crimes of sexual impurity.
Ooh la la.
In varied form, they run from aberrations involving self-abuse, sex stimulation, and self-pollution to abhorrent and unnatural practices involving others. Ooh, unnatural.
I like self-abuse. Go on.
Yeah, unnatural practices sounds like a hot witch orgy. I don't know. I'm thinking of The Craft. Anyway.
That's not at all what I was thinking of, and now you just ruined it for me.
Sorry. Okay. Whether named or unnamed in scriptures or the spoken word, any sexual act or practice which is unnatural, in quotes, or unauthorized
By
is a
Jesus.
sin. Wait, so there are sex practices which are authorized by the church?
Anointment, perhaps? No, that has nothing to do with it. I just think of balls and cream.
Yeah. Just straight missionary position? That's authorized. Okay.
Doggy style, forbidden.
It is unfortunate that church leaders must discuss these sins of corruptions, but they would be under condemnation if they failed to warn and forewarn and protect and fortify. To educate people in moral matters certainly is the duty of spiritual advisors. Even though
it's
it is
not
often...
duty to ask you in depth how it's going for you.
Wait. It's their duty, even though it is often repugnant and unpleasant. Bullshit. In previous ages, God's people must never be left with the excuse that they did not know. The Apostle Paul taught a bunch of shit and now it's getting boring. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Premarital heterosexual intercourse, let's clarify, okay? Heterosexual is usually in the category of fornication, which is illicit sexual intercourse between the unmarried. Adultery, however, is defined as this act when committed by married people other than with their respective marriage partners. The Bible seems to often use the terms adultery and fornication interchangeably. I'm guessing the Mormon Church does too.
So they're saying that adultery is the same as murder?
It's a sin next to murder.
Okay. Unforgivable.
Well, it doesn't say below murder. It does say next to. So yeah, as bad as murder.
Okay. I'm just checking. Listen, don't cheat on people. It's rude and mean. I don't condone it. Do I think it's the same as fucking ending somebody's life? No, I don't fucking think that it is.
And that's why this is funny.
Does it end my life? I got nothing. Never mind. Cut that.
There's a bunch more stuff that's quite hilarious. I'm just going to skip to this because it's caught my eye. The steps to fornication.
Ooh, sounds hot.
Among the most common sexual sins our young people commit are necking and petting. Not only do these improper relations often lead to fornication, pregnancy, and abortions. All ugly sons. But in and of themselves, they are pernicious evils. And it's often difficult for youth to distinguish where one ends and another begins. One minute you're necking, the next minute you're having a fucking abortion performed by Satan.
With an ice cream scooper? Sorry, Mandy made this gesture that no one will see but me. Of her scooping.
Isn't that how you do an abortion? It's like scooping the ice cream out of the bucket.
Luckily for me, Planned Parenthood has always been available, so I've always had birth control and have never needed an abortion.
Exactly. Anyways, I'm going to stop because it just keeps going on like this, but there are curses.
Wait, hold on. Wasn't it something that you talked about a young Idaho?
Oh, that was something far in the back. We were trying to figure out what would be the best passage to read to you guys, and there was one in the back that, they give you the fake scenarios, like, a young woman from my ward came to me with this problem I'm obviously making up, fabricating. And one of them, it was about... something about being able to talk to your parents.
We'll do it in a future podcast, but yeah.
It was like, a young Idaho girl came to Salt Lake City to have her abortion. Or, no, to give up her baby.
She said that she couldn't trust her mother, but she could trust me.
And the stake president, and the bishop,
right.
And a bunch of other dudes.
But not my own parents, God forbid.
You guys, this book is so fucking fun. And
is it? Is it fun?
I wish you all could be here with us to read it in person, but alas, we could go on forever, and I think now's the time we should move on, because you get the idea.
Mormon religion is stupid, and don't do it.
Having sex, whether you're married to someone else or whether you're not married yet, or having sex at all, is a sin next to murder.
Unless you're married.
No, unless you're married and doing it in missionary position. That's an approved position by the church.
Also, as I said, doggy style, I wanted to throw up. Is there a better way to call it? There's got to be a different name for that. That somebody in the 90s named, and we've just been forced to say it ever since.
We call that howdy partner. Ride 'em up, Texas.
I mean, reverse cowgirl's even better than that.
That's a totally different position.
I'm aware of that, but I'm just saying, in the spirit of bad sexual names.
Yeah. So anyway, sex is bad. If you have any sort of sex, it's the same as murder. And I wonder why I'm alone. Just kidding. That has nothing to do with it.
Don't let some old white dude in a church tell you what you can and cannot do with your body and, make good choices. supports Planned Parenthood. That's what we're going to put your tithing money towards.
Also, don't feel bad about having sex. It's great, and everyone loves it.
It's fun. Everybody has a great time, so long as everybody's consensual and sober enough to say yes.
And adults.
And adults. I wouldn't just say yes. They need to be sober enough to be actively involved.
You can't just put your hand up to their mouth and move their lips and say, like,
sounds like a great idea.
I would love to do that with you. This is the point where we go to hell.
Yeah, I'm aware. We were already going, all right, let's go into cool shit.
You know what I think is the top of the list of cool shit is the last episode of Book of Boba Fett.
Dude, so good.
I mean, so have you guys been watching Book of Boba Fett? Because, well, actually...
Spoiler alert? Should we just say
spoiler alert?
Yeah.
It started out...
Not great.
Not great.
I mean, it was okay. It was a lot of storyline. It showed how Boba Fett got out of the pit, the Sarlacc pit, and was, then kind of rebuilt his strength back up, and just kind of what happened to him during the... Because if you think about it, when he went down was the beginning of Empire
Return
Strike.
of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, right. And so then this is what, like 8 years after that movie?
Right.
So for what has he been doing for 8 years? So it kind of goes through all of that, which is fine. All of it might be slow. It's great.
I kind of liked that stuff, though.
I did. I liked watching him rebuild his strength and, win over the people.
The Tusken Raiders.
Captives. Yeah, like... I wasn't going to say, but...
Oh, we said spoiler.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, and so... But then now is him, like, taking Boba Fett's throne... Or Boba Fett, sorry. Jabba the Hutt's throne, kind of a thing. He's like, this is my area now, and I'm going to be the big bad. But it's so lame.
It's a fairly weak storyline to begin with, but all the little touches that went into it have been real disappointing so far.
Right. Well, so... Really, I didn't have the feeling of outrage until about...
Which is unusual.
Listen, you do me dirty. I'm gonna fucking call you out on it. I want to say it was 3 episodes ago, maybe. They introduced their bike gang or whatever.
The mods.
The mods. The Biff Tannen mod group from Back to the Future 2.
It can't just be us who thought that this whole new, gang was just...
a total ripoff of fucking Back to the Future 2.
And not a scary gang.
No, not scary, and not at all even interesting. They've got no character development on a single one of them, so therefore I don't actually give a fuck about them. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, don't waste my time doing character development on them. But why even bother with them?
It was laughable from the beginning.
And then when they came back, I'm like, oh, so we're heading with this, are we?
We're doubling down on the
doubling
mods.
down on Biff's gang. Great.
Remember when The Mandalorian first came out?
So good.
And we were all just like, this is the best thing since the original trilogy.
I think a memory had just come up that just said, all Star Wars fans can reunite and rejoice in The Mandalorian because none of us could find anything wrong with it.
Yeah. And remember, too, we didn't know anything about it going into it. And we were just stunned at how great it was that first episode, watching the credits and the animation and everything that they do at the end of the credits, and realizing that Jon Favreau had created this. And we were like, really?
Oh, yeah, makes sense. He did Iron Man.
That's interesting.
He's really good at this shit. And then he brought in fucking Biff Tanner's gang. And I'm like, if I can turn my back on George Lucas, I can turn my back on you, motherfucker. But, that being said, the last 2 episodes have been pretty good because they brought back the Mandalorian.
Biff Tannen's gang, too. He was like, what? You're in the 80s, and you have to predict what the future looks like. So the future looks like exactly what the 80s is now. All neon, a bunch of see-through vinyl, plasticky shit, but everybody's on hoverboards, and your clothes don't fit.
And you have Elijah Woods playing video games. That's like a baby's toy. And Marty McFly goes to go. He's like, oh, I know this game, because it was like Duck Hunt or some shit. And then a very young Elijah Woods says, you have to use your hands? That's like a baby's toy.
It's a very serious callback to the conversation we were having earlier, but
about it. Sorry, take a drink.
That is a deep dive.
I know trivia.
Anyway, the Book of Boba Fett, actually, the last couple episodes have reintroduced Mando and Grogu and this last one, dude,
they killed it. They fucking killed it.
If we didn't already say spoiler alert, this was like the best CGI I have ever seen in my life.
Not only was the CGI amazing, but like, and I read this somewhere, was that they pretty much took all the audio from the Star Wars movies with Mark Hamill.
The original trilogy.
It's a it's a computer that gets smarter. It's the Skynet of
it's a learning
audio. It's a learning computer of audio. So they were able to put whatever script they wanted, and it sounded exactly like Mark Hamill. Which I wonder if Mark Hamill still got paid because it's his likeness, or if he's paid away, or if he's signed away those rights.
You know, it kind of comes back to that whole. It kind of actually does a big circle back to the Future, right, in that weird way that Crispin Glover had that huge lawsuit back from that exact movie.
He wanted it too, didn't he?
He won it. Like, they can't use my likeness and profit off my likeness without me being involved, because he was double booked at the time and wasn't able to do the movie.
Right.
And so they still made it with him anyway, using his likeness and another character and CGI, whatever limited CGI they had at the time.
No, honestly, I think they just did makeup and hair that made it look similar to him.
Yeah. Well, whatever it was that they
did. There was
did.
no close-ups on him. It was all like he was upside down, like, oh, I go upside down again.
Yeah. Agreed.
But,
yeah. Whatever it was, he didn't get paid for that, and he sued, and he basically set a standard in Hollywood for, you know...
That, or they put it in the contract now.
Exactly.
Right. I got you.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
So, anyway. Sorry,
so that's interesting.
Took a little roundabout turn there, but Book of Boba Fett, if you were on the fence about the first few episodes, it's getting good again.
Right? If you like The Mandalorian, jump back into that.
All right, should we go on to this motherfucker?
This motherfucker.
Should we go on to that guy that Courtney convinced you to say that you would put his balls in your mouth?
My boyfriend, Ted Cruz.
That's the ticket.
Ew.
Ted Cruz.
I hate that guy.
Ted Cruz is in the news this week for, being an insensitive prick.
Well, he's really good at that.
Isn't he great?
Did you see his interview when he was in college saying he wanted world domination?
No.
He's so fucking... He's like the biggest nerd that's not cool ever.
Most nerds aren't cool.
I like nerds. That's my thing. But you know when, like, somebody's just... They just try so hard, and there's just no redeeming qualities about them.
That sounds like Ted Cruz.
That's Ted Cruz. If you watch this video, which I'm going to have to go now find and put on our Facebook or something, it's hard to watch.
Well, Ted Cruz is on Twitter.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and he said he tweeted this thing, today, that says, God bless these Canadian truck drivers. They're defending Canada, America, and they're standing up for freedom. The government doesn't have the right to force you to comply to their arbitrary mandates. And apparently what he's talking about is there's these truck drivers that go back and forth between the Canadian-American border, and in order to go into Canada, because Canada's like 95% vaccinated,
right,
you have to have a vaccine, or you have to have proven that you don't have COVID.
Right.
And all these, I can only assume, American truck drivers are like, fuck you, my freedom,
Right.
And they're like having all these protests at the border. And so, of course, fucking Ted Raphael Cruz, Canadian born,
let me pop in real quick.
Has to get involved and be like, freedom.
Well, one of my hairstylist friends who's Canadian, I saw her out protesting for the truck driver thing too. So I'm like, God damn it. Like, do you know something I don't know? So I'm going to have to ask her about it, because to me, like, the way we just described it is like, well, this sounds fucking stupid, and just fucking comply, and it'll save people getting sick, hopefully, and if not, it'll at least slow it down.
Here's the thing I don't fucking get, and I mean, we've talked about this for, I feel like, a year and a half now.
2 years.
2 years, or however long this shit's been going on. I don't fucking understand why it's such a big deal. Like, if you're living out in rural Idaho, let's say,
right,
or in the sticks somewhere where you don't interact with other people, fine, do whatever the fuck you want. But if you want to, go to public school, or live in a city, or, deliver goods and services to people in cities, like, you need to integrate with society. If there's a disease, very highly communicable disease that can be easily passed from person to person, and there's a way to stop that from happening, you have to fucking do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't just decide, like, that's not for me. If it's not for you, fine. If you don't want to get vaccinated,
go isolate yourself.
Fine. Exactly. Go isolate yourself. Fuck off. You can't go to Disneyland. You can't go to the concert. You can't live in New York City. You can't live in San Francisco. You can't be in places where people are highly densely populated areas because you're gonna fucking spread disease.
I agree.
It's so easy. It's so easy to understand. Remember polio?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Yeah,
Because I
no.
never fucking had it.
Neither do
Because
I.
I got fucking vaccinated, so I don't have to deal with this shit.
Remember measles? Remember the mumps? I mean, actually, you know, something
Measles
that actually
came back.
is something that is relevant is actually chickenpox. Because when I was a kid, I got, we all got that shit. We all got chickenpox. Kids don't get chickenpox anymore.
Right, I know, that's so weird.
Isn't it strange? Because of the vaccine.
Well, and that's the thing. As a small child, you'd have chickenpox parties where you'd give it to everybody, so you just get it out of your system. But the reason why
sounds like a Southern California white mom thing.
Okay,
I never heard of that. I never heard of that.
I've heard it from many, many people that I've talked to of my clients, right? Like, well, remember chickenpox? You have chickenpox parties. It seems like it was a common thing.
That's insane.
But the reason why is no kid dies from chickenpox. Like, as a 20-year-old person, one of my coworkers, when I worked at Applebee's, she got chickenpox and she couldn't work for a month. She was so sick. Because when you're an adult with chickenpox, you get really sick.
I got it at 15.
And this is why they have chickenpox parties for kids that are like 7 to 10. Is because if you get it, it's no big deal. You get past it. But if you get it as a semi-adult, you can actually get really fucking sick from it.
Dude, yeah. I was 15 years old when I got it. I had a fever of like 104 degrees for probably a week.
Right.
Which is real high.
Right.
I had to be out of school. This is sort of an aside story, but I remember being laid up on the couch when we lived in Mission Viejo.
Yeah.
And I'm playing Zelda, and I'm feeling like shit, but I'm like kind of coming out to the backside of it.
Right.
Like it's probably a week after. But it was really one of the worst sicknesses I ever had. And our stepdad, one of our mom's, many husbands, came home from being drunk on wine at the next door neighbor's house, being in the hot tub, and he came home with half a bottle of wine in his hand, and he's like, "Get your fat, lazy ass up off the couch. You've been laying there for a week." Just like drunk.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
What a fucking piece of shit.
And I just remember even being that age, looking at him like, first of all, number one, you're drunk off of half a bottle of wine. And
pathetic.
Number two, you're so pathetic. And just thinking to myself like, you're the worst person I've ever met.
He might be the worst person I've ever met.
Anyway, sorry, aside, yes.
Side note.
Getting chickenpox as an adult, it absolutely fucking sucks.
But I'm saying, I think these stupid idiot morons are like, oh, let's get all our kids COVID. Then they'll be past it. But once you've had chickenpox, you don't get chickenpox again. As an adult, you get shingles. But that's something entirely different.
Right.
But the fact that, again, you can get chickenpox and you don't have to deal with this for a while. But I've had COVID twice now. Right. I will probably have it a third and fourth time before I'm dead from it.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's like, it's not meant to be like a silver bullet. It's not meant to be like a cure-all, but it's meant to slow the progression in a community. It's not about you, yourself. It's not about how it can benefit you. Same as wearing a mask. It's about
the flu. I've never had a flu shot in my life. You get the flu shot so you don't get old ass people sick around you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's just the thing. Is like, it's not the idea of flipping your mindset from being completely self-centered to considering the community in which you live. Right. That is the downfall of society currently. Right. Like all these people who are anti-vax, anti-mask, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, like, I know a few of them. I'm related closely to a few of them. Right. I don't think they're bad people, but shifting your mindset from like what's best for you to
or
what's
even
best
thinking,
for
I'm a healthy person. I'm not going to die from this if I get it.
It's exactly what I'm saying. What's best for you, what matters to you, why it's important to you yourself, to flipping that narrative to what's important for the community in which I reside. Is it a rural community or is it a densely populated community?
My other point is that you don't know whether you have an underlying condition. My favorite was like, okay, when's the last time you went to a doctor? It's like, I'm really healthy. I don't go to doctors. So you have zero idea whether you have a heart problem, you have a kidney problem, a liver problem. You could have any fucking problem but you haven't been to a fucking doctor for years because you're so fucking healthy.
I can see where you're going because you completely just changed the topic of the conversation because the connecting thread that our listeners might not get is that we're talking about the one person we're related to.
I'm mad at her for not being vaccinated.
But yet at the same time, like, you know, I just went out on a date with somebody who was like kind of a friend of like the group, you know.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know him super well, but like, you know, we've hung out, we've been social, and like we get to the venue at this date. Just to like set the stage here, I'm up an hour away from my car, which is another hour the other direction away from my house. So it's like I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm kind of stuck where I am. But we're like in line for this music venue, and he's like, "Oh, by the way, my vaccine card's fake." And I was like, "What?"
I have no idea why anybody would brag about that shit.
I was like, "What?" And I was like, "Why would you do that? Where did you even get that?" He's like, "Oh, I just Googled it." And then he's like, he starts going on about how, oh, you know, because all these, and he does air quotes, all these trained medical professionals who are, you know, reviewing our medical records. And I was like, oh no.
You mean the people who went to school for years to understand this shit?
He's talking about the people at the doors of the venues looking at them. He's like, no one's ever going to know. And I was like, why would you do that? Well, he's like, oh, you know, I know somebody high up in the Johnson & Johnson family. And they said, vaccines are for those people. And I was like, what? He's like, you know, for those people. And meanwhile, in my head, I'm thinking, you mean me?
Right.
And everybody else in this venue? And I was just like, okay, you know. And then I was like, I let it go for a second. I was like, but you know that getting vaccinated or whatever, it's not really about you, right? It's about the community. And he's like, well, but they've proven that it doesn't stop the spread of whatever. And I was just like, let it go. And I just didn't say anything else after that. But I was just like, I was so bummed out that like, because you're kind of, I mean, whatever, get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. It's not going to make a huge difference to me. I have my opinion about it, obviously. But at the same time, it's like, you're going into a place that's packed full of people that are they've all kind of signed on the common agreement that all of us are vaccinated, and you're the one asshole who's like, yeah, go fuck yourself.
Right.
That really sits poorly with me. Like, I feel like that's a super dick move.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's real fucking shitty. Because, I mean, our one relative who refuses to get vaccinated, you know, they're not asking for proof of vaccination, and they're like, at work, you can get rid of wearing a mask if you're vaccinated, but they're not asking for proof that you're vaccinated. So she could easily just take the mask off and not worry about it. She's like, but no, you know, I'm not vaccinated. I'm going to keep wearing my mask because those are the rules. So it's like, she's not against rules.
I don't know. Like, do what you want. If you don't want to get vaccinated, don't get
Just
vaccinated.
Don't be a fucking liar.
Don't be a liar, and don't put...
Besides, that puts you on par with murder, because even though it's not adultery, I'm going to go ahead and it's lying. So.
Well, just don't put other people at risk.
Right.
Don't purposely and knowingly put other people at risk. That's such a dick move. It doesn't affect you, no. But it potentially could affect every single person you come in contact with.
It's like getting bitten by a fucking zombie and hiding it. That's exactly what it is. Be like, oh, no, I'm fine. You're running a bit of a fever. Yeah, I know, I have a cold.
Did you hear about those 2 nurses in New Jersey that were selling fake vaccine cards?
No.
Oh, yeah. They've made...
Oh, yeah, they made a shit ton of money.
They made $1.5 million selling fake vaccine cards. It was... I feel like I should look it up.
They were younger, too. I want to say they were like 30s, 40s. Mm-hmm. Not gonna lie. I'm like, maybe I just need to be an evil person so I can be rich.
That's how you make money. Fuck over other people.
Right. Or help other people fuck over other people.
So, 2 nurses in New York's Long Island are being charged with forging COVID-19 vaccination cards and entering the fake cards in the state's database. The scam allegedly raked in more than $1.5 million, and they have a little, like, handwritten ledger.
Oh, I saw that.
Where they kept track of their money. And a lot of these entries are, like, it's not like, they're not selling these one by one. They're, like, selling these in groups to, like, somebody who is interested in buying them. Like, you know, I'm sending $16,000,
right.
$25,000 worth of fake vaccine cards to somebody. Yeah, they're doing it in bulk. But this lady, and it was basically a lady and her assistant, and the lady ran a pretty small pediatric, like children's, kind of situation. Pediatric healthcare in Amityville. Oh, from the horror movie.
Nothing can go wrong here.
Nothing could possibly go wrong. And her assistant. So basically, yeah, they were charging like $220 per vaccination card and $85 for kids. And yeah,
a little discount.
Her and her assistant would just, fake that shit and enter them. She was 49, her assistant was 44.
Okay.
So I guess they weren't that young, but
still, I mean, it was like, how jaded do you have to be to fucking be like, you know what, fuck it, just throw in with a lot of them and just make that money.
Mm-hmm. And fuck everybody else who, I mean, you're a kid doctor. Right. You have to have, I feel like you have to have anybody who deals with children, whether it be teachers or doctors or whatever, like, you have to have a real big heart and a lot of patience and a lot of shit that I don't have.
Right.
I'm just assuming you have that because I could not imagine that being my job. I'd rather die.
I mean, I'm a pretty empathetic person, but like,
could you imagine having 25 kids as your
fucking
clients all day? I mean, we got a few that are related to us that we really like.
I like them because they look like me.
Yeah, all the rest of those kids can fuck right
Just
off.
Just kidding. None of those kids look like me. But I like my own as far as,
genetic similarities.
Right.
Anyway.
I did read today on the Facebook that billionaire Mark Cuban has launched a war against Big Pharma, recently starting an online pharmacy where over 100 life-saving medicines are offered at low cost. So he charges a standard 15% markup, 15, in an industry that typically sees no less than 100% markup.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's, like, amazing.
In just one example, a life-saving leukemia drug with the typical retail price of $9,657 is offered by him for a total of $47.
Dude.
Insurance is not accepted due to the fact that it would force him to work with manufacturers requiring certain price points. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, okay, that all sounds well and good, but it's probably bullshit. So I clicked on the link. Sure as shit, it's pretty legit. Because I'm like, okay, where's the Xanax at? Just give me my drugs. Mm-hmm. No, I have to actually, you have to do paperwork to get your prescription in, but they don't, it's pretty great. So if there's one, for instance, like I can never say it, albuterol?
Albuterol.
Yeah, so it's the inhaler, right? So this one's not a huge one. It's normally a $49 price tag. He's doing it for $32, so you save $16. But if you go down a little bit further and go down to like amoxicillin, that's $85.77. It's $12. So you're saving $73.
Wow.
So thank you, Mark Cuban. You're fucking rad.
That's
and
really cool.
The website to that is COST, COST, plus PLUS, drugs, drugs.com.
We should make sure to post that on the social media.
I will.
Yeah, that's fucking amazing. That's really like...
That's a fucking war against pharmaceutical. Fuck you, bitches.
Who knew that he had the kind of money to be able to do that?
Dude, Mark Cuban's a fucking billionaire. And he's always saying, I quote him all the time. He's like, I can only own so many pairs of khakis. I can only drive one Ferrari at a time. So if sitting there telling me that I deserve all this money for trickle-down economics because I can hire all these people, it's like, yeah, that's one thing, but I can only put so much of my money back into the economy before I can only just keep saving it because I've got nothing left to buy.
It's bananas. I keep going back to the whole Amazon theory. Like, everybody knows, and it's pretty well documented, that Amazon is so huge and their profits are so great. And they employ so many people at real shitty wages, by the way, that they're going to run out of people to employ, and they're going to have to start over again. Like, there's not enough people in the world.
Right.
They're going to have to start cycling through them. And I shit you not, I know this from insider information. My source I will not reveal. But they're starting to send letters to people being like, hey,
would you like to come back?
Did you like working for us? Would you like to come back? Like, we can give you a 10-cent raise or whatever it is. Like, they're actually really starting to get desperate. So
good.
Yeah, it's like you kind of, and the problem is that it'll probably work because people are desperate. Like, you need money. You have to pay your bills. You have to pay your heat. You have to pay your rent.
Right.
Whatever it is.
And everything keeps going fucking up.
Yeah. It is going to take somebody who can inspire, like, a radical change of thinking, like Bernie Sanders.
I was going to say, but, like, you look at Jeff Bezos and you look at Mark Cuban, and you see what each person does, and Mark Cuban is finding ways to better fucking humanity, and fucking Bezos is jerking
Looking for
himself
ways to get
off.
his dick wet.
Right. Out in space.
Out in space. Ooh, that just brought back a weird, not back, but did I just get abducted? Let's hear a word from our sponsors. This is gonna get crazy.
And we're back.
And we're fucking back. Dicks are dry. There's
For now.
been no alien abductions. Everything is normal and going according to our planned schedule.
I believe you.
According to Skynet.
Self-aware.
Hey, do you want to hear a funny story?
Perhaps.
For some reason lately, a bunch of stories, like, I was like, oh, we're getting to the end of our stories. What are we going to do? I'm running out of stories to tell. And then just recently, like, a bunch have been rushing back, like, oh, I got to put that in the ledger. Oh, I got to remember that one. And this one, well, it seems like it's not that funny or interesting. I'm telling you, it's going to be really great. It's about the time that Dexter ate a slug.
That sounds fucking horrendous.
So, Dexter's my dog. Picture
Also, hold on, backstory. Manny fucking hates slugs, like, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We lived in the Pacific Northwest. We'd go hiking out in the woods or whatever. We'd be like, look at this banana slug. And Manny would be like, seriously, just fuck off. It's so gross.
Have I ever told you the reason why I hate slugs?
Something about camping?
No, well, kind of. So, one of my good friends, when I was in high school in Utah, her parents moved to Anacortes, and she's the reason I ended up moving to the Pacific Northwest. She had, like, a, trust fund to go to college and stuff like that, and I just kind of, like, rode on her coattails and was her roommate and helped pay bills and stuff. But as her parents were moving up there, her parents sold their house in Logan, bought a big house in Anacortes, which was literally right on the water. It was beautiful. It was, like, the most pristine coastline, wilderness, ocean view situation you could imagine. I'm sure it was probably worth a fuck ton of money, which I didn't realize at the time.
Right.
At the time, I was just, like, in high school, and I was like, we're gonna go see my friend's, house, my friend's parents' house they're building. But so they had the frame of the house built, and so we brought sleeping bags and stuff, and it was summertime, so it was warm. It wasn't typical Pacific Northwest weather. And so we're camping on the foundation of the house. It was like very, very close to the water, so it was like elevated on stilts. So we weren't on the ground, but it was like, imagine like stilts, and then like the base of your living room is like, I don't know, I want to say like 10 feet off the ground. So we're sleeping on that. There's no roof, there's no walls, it's all open, but you have the support beams and you have the floor foundation, right? You're looking out at the water, the sun's fucking setting.
Beautiful.
It's
fucking
like,
beautiful.
It's probably Jeff Bezos' dream view of his house he probably bought from them to make some sort of new
sure, he destroyed
situation.
It first. Built something else.
But anyway, so we're in our sleeping bags. We go to sleep at night. I wake up in the morning, and I don't know if you've ever seen a banana slug, but it looks...
You know that I have. They're disgusting.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking
to
the listener.
Have you ever seen a banana slug?
They're very long. They're very slimy. They're kind of a yellowish, greenish baby poop color,
really
but
gross.
with spots on them. Anyways, I woke up, I opened my eyes, and one was right next to my head, and I'd never seen such a thing before. I had no idea they even existed.
Aliens.
And I freaked the fuck out, and I was like...
How much? Screaming?
Oh, I jumped up, I screamed. I thought, it was like if you'd seen a spider. Well, if I had seen a spider, I don't like spiders either.
Oh, I've seen spiders.
But yeah, I jumped up, I screamed, I yelled, I tried to kick it. In fact, I did kick it off the thing.
Just sludge over, like.
Well, and these aren't snails. Like, there's no shell attached.
No,
to them.
I know. So it won't actually kick.
Yeah,
it'll just attach to your foot.
It just slooges.
Slooges. That's a perfect word for it.
Anyways, that's how I learned about banana slugs, and that's why I have been terrified of them, and am terrified of them to this day. Moving on to the story. So our friend Andrea, her parents, who we love so much, who've adopted us and, encircled us in their arms of love and friendship.
I
and
do love her
loving.
parents a lot.
Penny and Blair.
They
are so great.
They're great.
They literally are like the kind of parents who, like, they've got their kids, and then everyone who is friends with their kids who are cool, they don't put up with any bullshit.
Right.
But if you're cool and they know you're good people, they will literally like bring you into the family like you were one of their own, and they're just so awesome. So we love them so much. Anyway, and they would have these parties. They had this house in Semiahmoo, which is pretty close to the Canadian border. You're kind of overlooking Birch Bay. Right. It was one of those things where it's like your self-service. If you were in the kitchen, you might get charged for international roaming Canada calls because you're that close to the border. If you go in the living room, then you're okay. But anyways,
so stupid.
But they loved to have parties, and they loved drinking wine.
They had the best parties.
Dude, so good, right?
So good.
And Andrea's mom, Penny, she had a store in Sunset Square for a while called Landlubber, and it was like all kinds of like, home decor items, but it was like classy and way above what Bellingham should have ever known. Like, you normally would have had to gone to a big city to find this style of elevation. It was like CB2 or...
I was going to say, like CB2.
Yeah, Crate and Barrel or Ethan Allen or something that was like a little more elevated than, Bumfuck City or Bumfuck Bellingham Sticks life. But she just has this elevated sense of style, and her whole house was like, it was decorated to perfection. It was like an episode of Queer Eye. It was like or the Dream Home, like the HGTV Dream Home. It was like everything you'd want. You could go in there at any moment of the day, film it, and it could be on HGTV.
Nice.
It's perfect. Like, her style was amazing. Anyway, I digress. I learned a lot from her, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. But anyway, they love to drink wine, and they love to entertain and have people over, and I learned a lot about wine from them, too. So, one night, they were having this party, and they invited, they had a lot of, they're fairly, like, wealthy, there's a lot
It's an affluent area.
It's an affluent area, and there's a lot of, they own a lot of land. It's right on the border. It's a lot of Republican people.
Oh, yeah.
Which, we're not going to get into that too much, but...
Well, we tried not to when they come over. It's like, just drink the wine and
laugh.
We
did fight a little bit with people. Okay, so the scene is set. The wine's flowing. Everyone's having a really great night.
Rich people in their furs.
Yeah, rich people everywhere. And then a bunch of...
Oh, wait, we had the furs. It's because we were making fun of rich people. I forgot.
I was going to say, the kids, like, the parents, who are throwing the party, their kids, like, degenerate friends, fucking up the vibe.
Yeah, pretty much. We were not doing good things for their party.
But we were having a great time. And actually, honestly, they loved us, and they loved us.
Oh, no, they loved it because they're always like, if you're not a liberal when you're young, you have no heart. But if you're not a Republican by the time you're old, you have no brain.
They totally did say that. But anyways, so I had gotten... This was right about the time that I had gotten Dexter, my little Papillon dog, who... At the time, I can't remember.
Now walking around with a diaper and no teeth.
I can't remember the year, but it was right around the Paris Hilton times when everyone had a little dog as their accessory in their purse. Right. And I was like, I want that. And I sure as shit went and got that.
Right.
to be fair, there was nothing cuter. I took that dog. The dog was like the size of a large grapefruit. I took him down to
Gremlin.
I took him down to Pike's Place Market in a purse, and it took me like 3 hours to get through there because everyone was just like, oh my god, is that a tiny puppy in your purse? I was like, yes, you can touch him. You can look at him. His name's Dexter. Isn't he adorable? And it was a lot of fun for the first couple years. Now we're in the diaper, hand-feeding wet food. He's completely blind and deaf stage.
He can't see shit. He can't hear you, but he can smell food like a motherfucker.
It's different than I thought it was going to be when I first got that dog,
you
but
just don't think they're going to live past... No, I'm just kidding.
I love him nonetheless.
How old is he now? He's like 17 years old?
Almost 18.
Jesus.
Just coming up to 18.
Oh, he's almost legal.
I know. Anyway, he was a little thing then. He was maybe eight months old or so. He was a tiny little thing. And so when we're setting the scene for the party in Birch Bay, it's pretty rural. It's a lot of pine trees. It's like right out there on the ocean. It's, you know, there's not a lot going on. There's a lot of nature. And this had been my first dog that I'd gotten. I mean, I think he was my first dog that I'd gotten from a puppy. That it was my responsibility to, you know, take care of him.
Make sure he lives.
Make sure that he lives. And I remember I was getting drunk, drinking wine at the party, and having a great time. And then Blair, Andrew's dad, brings the dog up, and he's like, I feel like something's wrong with the dog. He's acting strange, and he's like, he's not, you know, something's weird. And I take the dog, and he's like, he's not opening his mouth, but he looks like he wants to open his mouth. And so I get in there, and I put my fingers in between his upper jaw and his lower jaw, and I try to pull him apart.
No.
And it's completely, like, gorilla glued shut. And I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And I was drunk. And I was immediately, like, tried to sober up, but I wasn't sober. But I was like, the alien abduction? Did he eat a bottle of super glue? Did he get a hold of a hot glue gun? Like, I don't fucking know what happened. But, like, I was literally trying to pull him apart, and he would start going, when I would pull too hard because it was hurting him.
Right.
And I was like, holy shit, we gotta call 911. We had to call 911. And Blair's like, okay, hold on, settle down. Please don't call 911 to come out to my beautiful house and my party. Let's just think this through. Luckily, there was adults there. Meanwhile, I'm like 26. I'm an adult at this point.
Barely an adult.
So he's like, you know, he looks at the dog and he gets a flashlight out, and he's like very dad-like. He's like, I'm gonna
figure this out.
I'm gonna figure out this problem. And
he can breathe clearly through his nose, or he'd be dead by now. Okay, good.
He's fine, but he's like in distress.
Right, yeah.
He's not crying or anything.
He's got a big ass slug, I'm guessing, in his throat. I'm sorry. It's fucking spoiler.
It's not in his throat, but yes. Apparently, when a dog eats... So, you know, when a dog eats a slug is what I was going to say. Let me finish my thought. When a dog eats a slug, apparently it turns to a very sticky, tacky sort of substance. Have you ever put salt on a slug?
Yes.
So your saliva is a little salty. So that's what's happening. It's like being digested.
Oh,
right?
Fuck.
When I back to the story of waking up with the banana slug next to my head, I learned very quickly to just put that shit on a stick and flick it in the ocean. Will I be judged?
Mean.
Will I be judged? Probably, but
Jesus doesn't like slug killers.
I would do it again. That's how much I don't like slugs.
Oh my God! No, I used to. Me and slugs and salt are friends. But
yeah. So Blair was like, I think your dog ate a slug. And I was like, oh, we need to take him to the vet. We need to take him. We need to call 911. We gotta blah, blah, blah. And just freaking out and being I'm sure a drunken, obnoxious mess. And Blair's like, he's gonna be fine. Everything's fine. Give him some water. He can't drink water. He's got a slug in his
dying.
He'll be fine. Here, have another glass of Chardonnay.
Thanks, babe.
And I'm embarrassed to say, I can't remember how that story ended. Because I just remember me going from 100% drama to waking up the next morning and being like, everything's fine. And I credit that, and I thank Penny and Blair for making sure. They probably
took care of Dexter.
I'm sure they
didn't die.
I'm sure they did. They've taken care of me enough times to make sure I didn't die. They're very good people.
No, my main memory, because I actually didn't get to go and party out there too often because I came in much later. And I just remember drinking my wine, wearing my big fur coat, thinking that I was funny as fuck because, you know, Bush was president and fucking...
Making fun of rich people.
You make fun of rich people because fuck them. But somebody was just complaining, like... So, and again, I also hate confrontation, right? So I like to make fun of people, but I really hate confrontation. So we were drinking our wines and having fun, and this one lady was just complaining about, like, my service person do this, and then my maid isn't doing this like I told her to. And is it just the hardest thing to get a cook around here? And I must have been pretty drunk, because, again, don't like confrontation, but all I remember is kind of, like, raising my glass up to say, more money, more problems. And then I got ushered out. Okay, I don't think I got ushered out, but I don't remember a whole lot after that, but it was just like everybody, but even the rich people laughed, like we all laughed.
Yeah. Because you're wearing a fur coat and they're like, is she rich? she might be. We better laugh just in case she's rich.
Right. It's like, oh, she looks like she's just being a poser, but how did she get here?
God damn, I miss those parties.
Right. Yes, and then all the old women hitting on Richard.
Oh, God. Let's have a quick cheers to Penny and Blair.
Hey, to Penny and Blair.
And let's also cheers anybody who's going to head right over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review.
You can even leave a 1-star review. I can take criticism. I prefer that you don't, though.
Check out our website. We're at FHEBadMormons.com.
You can write us an email. You got something to tell me? I will respond.
We got official merch.
I didn't tell them what the email address was.
I'm sorry.
It's FHEBadMormons@gmail.com.
Become a patron if you want to.
Listen, for $3, it's less than a latte, and I get to buy more wine to keep producing quality entertainment for you.
We have official merch from TeePublic. It's on our link tree, which is on all of our social medias. And we're always looking for likes and subscribes on our YouTube. So if you haven't done it already, please head over to our YouTube, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We're drunk.
See you next week, bitches.
And we'll be drunker next week.
You're welcome.